On to you, Virgos. You have the Ace of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, then you have the Page of Wands, the Ten of Cups, the Hermit, which is Virgo, the Four of Wands, then you have the Knight of Wands, the Seven of Swords, you have the Magician, and then you have the Five of Wands. So, okay, so for you Virgos, right, the Ace of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, there's ultimately a lot of conflict that a lot of you Virgos had really learned to get over. The Ace of Wands really speaks to how, you're able to, how a lot of you Virgos have been able to turn heartbreak and disappointment into a real sense of power, because a lot of you Virgos are not disappointed within your own selves. You're disappointed at other people, but you're not holding that against them. But you're not disappointed with yourselves. A lot of you Virgos have become proud of the type of people that you have become. So the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands is about how, so this really does speak to a brand new level or a brand new beginning, right? As dark zodiac signs, right? What I mean when I say dark, I mean nocturnal zodiac signs. All of the even houses are usually nocturnal, right? And all of the odd houses are diurnal or daytime zodiac signs, right? Light zodiac signs. So we're going from the darkness to the light, in the sense that us as Virgos are learning how to be more aware that everything is going to work out, as opposed to being upset, and as opposed to looking at all the things that are not going right, as we get to know somebody. So the Ten of Cups and the Hermit, right? The Ten of Cups is really about learning how to walk away from said problem, right? And the Hermit represents learning how to let said problem be a part of the solution, right? And what I mean by that is a relationship between you and another person does not always necessarily have to work out. It does not have to be a scenario where you Virgos get a chance to work it out. It doesn't even have to be a scenario where you Virgos get a chance to work it out even peacefully. Sometimes for you Virgos, a lot of you Virgos are learning to still walk away regardless of whether or not it's a peaceful ending. Because a lot of you are really starting to figure it out. And the it that I'm talking about is a lot of you Virgos are starting to figure out that the problem is that you've been betting on the wrong people, right? Instead of you betting on yourselves to be okay no matter the situation, you've been betting on other people's kindness that a lot of people have, unfortunately, have not shown you, right? When it comes to your lack of success, when it comes to dating. So the Four of Wands is about how, since that is the case, this really does speak to how a lot of you Virgos, you're still ever the romantic, because Virgos can be romantics, even though we don't like to show that side of us. That's part of the reason why it is that we end up getting our heart broken whenever it is that it comes to in love, right, Virgo? Because we want to be in love, but even in our most realistic ideas of how it is that we want things to work out, right? Or the most realistic of it, it's still too idealistic to ask of people, even if it's realistic. And what I mean by that is the idea that decency is something that a Virgo may want, but people act like decency is so far out of the realm of reality. It's like It's like going to Mars in nothing but a spacesuit. You understand what I'm saying? So the Knight of Wands represents how, since that's the case though, I just see a lot of us, I just see it because I'm a Virgo, but I just see a lot of us Virgos ultimately being ready for whatever happens, you know. Really not necessarily more so about making everything into a problem, but I just see it's much more than that. It's more than that. It's more about excuse me, it's more about needing to understand yourself and why people do what they do, but more so from your own self perspective, and actually finding out those answers. And the answers that a lot of us Virgos have figured out, and a lot of us will continue to figure out, is the people who have done the worst to us, as far as to break our hearts, those people are very displaced. They're very dysfunctional. They're very displaced, right? What I mean when I say displaced, I mean they do not have a whole lot of power, and that's part of the reason why people who come from psychopathy, or people who are sociopaths, or people who are narcissistic, they want power so much because they never really had a whole lot of it. And a lot of it was taken out of their hands. So they become obsessed with as much power as they can attain, right? And they don't necessarily care. So a lot of you Virgos are realizing that when you see a lot of people doing, specifically with you, they're doing way too much, and it doesn't make any sense, right? Where you're trying to show them that romantic side, and they seem to be a little bit out of touch with reality, right? Start rejecting you. A lot of you Virgos need to understand that that's what it is. It's because they're displaced. So the Magician now represents, and this is where a whole new reality comes into play for you, because some of you Virgos never looked at it like that, right? But the Five of Wands represents, but when you understand it, that's when it is that you'll be able to be prepared for it. Because you have to study the mentality of the people, right, who act like that, right? People only screw you over, right, because they like you a lot, Virgo. But the problem is they have to create a narrative that somehow you're the one that's highly dysfunctional. And that if they don't create, if they don't create a narrative, then they are ultimately afraid of how much it is that they would like you. They probably like you so much to the point where they would begin to worship you. And in order to kind of bring themselves back down to earth, they have to make you into an enemy. So let's clarify some of these cards. Let's clarify the Magician. So you have a lot of Virgo energy in this Virgo reading. To clarify the Magician, you have the Page of Pentacles, King of Swords, then you have the Eight of Swords, and the Devil. To clarify the Magician. So how it is that they say some magicians bring up the devil. Ironic. But the Page of Pentacles, the King of Swords, right? To clarify the Magician. A lot of you Virgos ultimately want peace. But the problem is, right, you want to be able to trust somebody. And a lot of Virgos have trust issues. And the thing about us as Virgos, right, is that a lot of us are dealing with those trust issues because it just seems like so many different things have been flipped and warped as to where the King of Swords represents. So a lot of you Virgos may not necessarily know what to do, right? What exactly is the next step? So the Eight of Swords and the Devil now represents. So a lot of you Virgos have realized, right, that the best thing for you to do as of right now is to remain patient and see what kind of opportunities is coming your way. And what I mean when I say opportunities is I mean everything. Love, life, career. And it's okay to not necessarily know every single move that you're going to make every time. That's okay. You know, sometimes that's actually a good thing, like it is right now, because then you don't have to map something out so fast. Because us as Virgos, we usually like to get something done quickly, where we end up, right, creating some sort of new project or creating something that we're going to do, and then we essentially run through it, and we don't necessarily take our time. And the situation with that is that can be a very dysfunctional thing, because later on we end up having to do something over and over and over if we're not paying attention. That's the thing that us and Aries have in common. So we as Virgos have to learn to be very patient. Be very patient when it comes to getting to know other people. Because, and this is something that I myself have made the mistake of doing, is that in the past, I don't do it so much anymore, right? But in the past, you really get to know somebody and you like them. But the problem is, you know, you open up to them a little bit too quickly. So what you really want to do is, right, to be careful with this, what you really want to do is you want to see the person moderately as you're getting to know them. So let's clarify the Five of Wands. So to clarify the Five of Wands, you have the Four of Swords, the Three of Cups, of course, the Lovers, okay, and you have the Eight of Wands. This is a situation for you Virgos where the Four of Swords represents wanting to, a lot of you Virgos kind of wanting to put aside short-term encounters, not necessarily being opposed to it, but not wanting short-term encounters. Because the Three of Cups can represent that. It can represent short-lived relationships, short-lived interactions with others. And the Lovers in the Eight of Wands, right? The Lovers in the Eight of Wands, the Lovers is Gemini. So a lot of Mercury energy here. So this is really about understanding that it takes two, right? This is why patience is so needed. Because the person has to show you that they're going to be providing value as well, right? Us as Virgos, we represent the healer. So a lot of times what we'll do is we will pick the person up, and like a nurse or a doctor, right? We will end up taking care of the person, but the person tends to be ungrateful. And what I mean by that is we will love a person and end up messing ourselves up loving a person because we spent the time not really paying attention to the value that they were bringing to us. So we will have people around us that we're getting to know, that we're spending and putting all, and more importantly, putting all this time and energy into, right, and effort for a person who will play us out, a person who will laugh at you, a person who will think that they're winning something, you know, by being stupid. So the Eight of Wands represents, so there definitely needs to be changes, right? A lot of us Virgos are going through a real metamorphosis where it's not about disliking. You know, I went through a metamorphosis myself. You know, I used to draw a lot of my main focus on things like anger. As to where with me, you know, I really have transcended that. I've changed. Do I still get power from anger? Sure. My emotions? Sure. But it's not necessarily in specifically anger anymore. It's more so about love, right? Self-love on a healthy level, and the love that I have for others. And why that's important in the first place is because then you realize that love nourishes both ways. It's not about one person getting something and the other person getting left out in the cold, right? So that's pretty much it. Comment on the video, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the video. I'm trying to make my YouTube channel grow to 10,000 subscribers. I have 9,015. I don't know, but I'm creating longer content though. Peace.